Hey everyone, Jason here, aspiring entrepreneur and digital marketing consultant. And in this Canva tutorial video, you're going to learn how to create awesome worksheets for your online courses and lead magnets, even if you don't think you're a designer. So these are the exact same templates that I've been using for myself and my clients to create online courses and engaging lead magnets. Plus, when you stick around to the end, I'll be sharing with you a time-saving design hack to dramatically reduce the time and headache it takes to put together all of these worksheets. And that will be especially helpful if you have multiple opt-in offers or multiple modules that you need to create worksheets for. So with that, let's go ahead, jump into my screen.
Now, as we dive into Canva, it's important to remember that the purpose of creating your worksheet in Canva is to help your customer or prospect achieve a specific result or walk through a specific process that you have for them in the worksheet. So you definitely don't need to go too crazy with the design because you don't want the design to distract from the content or result or the work that you want your customer or prospect to do. And so with that, there's a couple of things that you want to decide before you choose a template here, and that is whether or not you want this to be designed as if they're going to print it out, or it's just going to be a guide they're going to be going through on their laptop or their mobile phone, and they're going to be writing it on a notepad. And the reason that's so important is if you want to design something to print out, you want to leave a lot of white space on the page because you don't want to waste your customers' and prospects' ink. So go ahead and make that decision right now, and we'll go through examples of both. So if you're going to have something that's going to be on the computer or on a mobile device and you're not really expecting your prospect or customer to print it out, then I recommend using the 16:9 ratio because it's going to show up great on screens. Now, if you want them to print it out and actually be working with things, which is the first example we're going to go through, I would actually choose certificate. So this is 11:8.5. So this is just turning a normal piece of paper sideways. And that gives you kind of this long format that's really easy for people to write things out and go through a process. And so in this example, I have a free membership site over at jasonwhaling.com/aspire notebook. And so I'm going to be walking you through how I came up with the worksheet for goal setting. And so I've chosen the certificate. You'll see here on the left, there are a couple of free templates that you can choose from. However, because we chose the certificate template, only a couple of them are going to be applicable to creating your cover page. So what I'm going to do in this tutorial is I'm going to show you how I put these pages together. I'm not going to waste your time while I click and drag and trying to resize and change the colors. So this is mostly just going to show you how you can manipulate really basic elements inside of Canva to get something that looks nice really, really quickly. Because again, your prospects and customers, they aren't judging you by how graphically intense these worksheets are. They just want worksheets that are helpful in solving their big problem or moving them towards the process that you have laid out for them. So for this particular one, I chose this template right here, and all I did was change the color to match the branding color, and then I just gave it a title. I gave it a nice quick tagline, and then optionally, if you have a course that has multiple modules, you can go ahead and include something like this on the cover of each one of your worksheets to kind of show consistency. For this particular instance, there's 4 modules inside this free membership site, so I just have 4 little blocks that show the different 4 modules. Another quick note is you can actually hyperlink to your course homepage. So what you could do is you could come in here, highlight the URL, and then go ahead and insert a link. I would suggest inserting a link on the homepage just in case in the future you change names of courses or links change because the homepage of your course, this way you don't have to update the links moving forward. So this is just one example of a cover. This is another example. You can see we just have a really basic, what is it? Here's the little tagline. I actually don't really like this one that much, but just for this tutorial, I thought I'd create one that was a little outside the box. And finally, we have this one. So the way I put together this one, and this is why I really like Canva because it's so simple. All I did is this is a giant solid square that I turned on its side, and I got this from the shapes in the elements section of Canva over here on the left-hand side. And then I went up to text and I just chose one of their templates. I chose, where is it? This go to the happy birthday one. And so I have the title of the module, and then I have what it is, a blueprint. And another quick tip is to give your worksheets different names other than worksheets. So just call them blueprints or roadmaps or templates. It just adds an extra layer of perceived value on top of what you have. And so I have this giant box. You can see if I take it away, that's what it looks like. I'll bring it back here. And then I just took a stock photo and kind of positioned it here on the right-hand side until right about there. And there you go. That's it. So you just have the title, and these are 2 elements, and it looks halfway decent. I mean, this isn't something that a professional designer would put together, but again, we're just trying to do this quick, and we're trying to give our prospects and customers a nice looking worksheet. So I'm going to go ahead and drag that down so it's back in the center, and there we go. So that kind of does it for the cover page. You can skip around in the table of contents in the YouTube description to see some other examples that I'm going to go through later in the video. And next comes to the actual worksheet pages. And so these pages are going to be where you're actually putting the actual content. And one of the things I suggest is coming up with a blank template and then just copying it over and over again. So these are multiple elements. I'm going to scroll through a couple of examples right here so you can kind of see how these would look individually. But especially if you're designing something that's going to be printed out, you notice there's a lot of white space here because you don't want to waste your customer's ink, right? You want them to print it out. You want them to go through it. And I'm sure you, like me, have had the experience of having to print something out and realize like, oh, I just wasted a bunch of ink on a giant text block. So this is probably as many solid colors as I was due with this. So this is one example of how you can put it together. This is another example. You see there's a lot of blank space. There's plenty of room to put together the worksheet elements. And all this is the same text that I used on the cover page with a small box. And it's really that's as complicated as you need to get. Along here, I used a line. If you want to get really fancy, you come over here to Elements and click on Lines. Come on, lines, here we go. And you can just play around with these different ones. So I just took a line, I turned it on its side, and I put it here on the side to give it some flair. This element right here is also another line. And this final example that I have for you down here is another line taken from these sections. So the other thing you can do is at the bottom add page numbers, but just keep in mind that you'll have to manually add each page number, and it's probably not going to be a huge deal to your customers. So I generally don't bother with the page numbers because I always have to go back and make sure that all the pages are numbered correctly because they don't auto update like they do in Word. And so that does it for your template. So now I want to go through the actual pages. So once you kind of have your template and you've chosen it, I'm just scrolling through here. You can always go through the table of contents, more examples to come later in the video. And so this is the template that I decided to use. And what I like to do is have the first page, so this is the first page right after the cover page, the first page be all of the description. So this page right here has all of the directions. So if someone is going to print out this worksheet like I've designed it to be done, then they can select which pages they want to print out and they don't have to waste ink or print out a bunch of different pages just because there are directions everywhere. So it really works nicely because someone can be looking at their screen and then filling out the following pages. So I have 3 exercises in this particular template. The highlighted text is just for you guys to really make sure that you stay brief with your summary, but make sure that you give them just enough information where they don't have to go looking to complete all of the exercises. So you want to be as brief as possible while also being complete as possible. Of course, I'll let you figure out what that good balance is. And so that's what I do for the first page. And then the next pages are just fill in the blank diagrams for them to go through the process. And the simplest way to design these pages is to create a basic graphical representation of the questions they need to answer or the steps they need to go through. In this particular instance, all we have is we have a couple of circles up here and then we have squares. And these are just 1, 2, 3 places for them to answer the basic questions that are below. And again, we have all of the detailed directions on the summary sheet. So the next page, again, is a very, very similar layout. There's a circle for them to put in their one result. This is helping someone go through making their goals, business goals. And then there's a giant box for them to write in their text, write in their reason. There's a little small space that is essentially just describing and reiterating what was explained in the direction slide. So finally here, we have another space where they're supposed to come up with 3 to 5 ideas. You see I have 4 boxes for them here, and then I have them write in their one idea or the one thing that they're going to go through. And so that's really all there is to it, to creating these particular parts of your worksheet. So I'm going to switch gears and show you another worksheet. Now, this worksheet is an example of a 16:9 aspect ratio, not really designed to be printed out. So you can see my cover is very similar to what we went over in the beginning of this video. You see I have a basic diagram with circles, 1, 2, 3 questions, a nice graphical representation of how the different questions or the information they're coming up with interacts. So I'm just going to keep scrolling here. Here's the most basic template that you could go with, is just ask a question and then have a box for it. So you don't really have to get super creative as long as you're just walking them through the questions or the process that they need to answer. You can do a fill in the blank like this. We're going really fast here. Sometimes you do have to have explainers. Like I said, this one's not designed to be printed out. So if you're not planning on someone printing it out, you can have a little more detail and a little more text. You can see here, this is a good example of if you're crunched for time and you don't want to go through making all those worksheets. This particular worksheet just has a bunch of questions for them to answer. So I'm assuming that they're not going to print this out. They're just going to answer the questions on their own. So there's a couple of question slides, as well as some more in-depth examples for them to write up their own customer avatars, which is what that particular worksheet was for. We'll finish up with market research, where sometimes it's okay to just have a bunch of questions on a slide. It doesn't have to be super complicated. So I hope all of these worksheet examples kind of inspires you to come up with your own design or gives you some ideas for what's possible with your worksheet design. Now, I mentioned in the beginning a pro hack for getting multiple worksheets done if you have a lot of different types of worksheets that you need to put together. And if that's you, you actually want to go back and do a different design and actually choose a magazine cover. And what the magazine cover is going to do is give you a bunch of great templates for your covers. So if you have to make a lot of different types of lead magnets or worksheets as different opt-in offers, you probably don't want all the covers to look the same as you would in a course like we just went through. So going through the magazine covers is a great way to get quick inspiration and some great templates for creating those multiple covers very quickly. And also what I really like about the magazine cover section is that when you go through the templates, they have a lot of design intensive ideas as well. So if you were looking at the designs in this particular tutorial and you thought, you know what, those are really basic, I want to take it up a notch, then choosing the magazine style template, you'll have a lot of great templates and ideas to choose from. So here's just a quick example of a lead magnet that we put together using the magazine style template. And so I'm just going to scroll through these so you can kind of see what's possible with the different covers. And as we wrap up, just want to let you know that when you add a template that has stock images in it, what you can do is go ahead and remove them, and the template's going to look like this, and then you'll be able to download and use that template even though Canva says it's paid. So whenever you see a paid option here on the side, all you have to do is find the stock photo, remove it, and then the rest of the elements on the page are free, which means you'll be able to use the template. So thank you for watching. I hope you found this video informative and actionable. If you got some value out of it, go and hit that like button and then subscribe, because over on the channel, I'm documenting the entire process of building an online business from scratch. And of course, creating awesome worksheets and lead magnets is just one small piece of putting together your courses and sales funnels. So go ahead, hit that like button, comment below, and as always, keep building the business you love. Take care.